Welcome to the Real Estate Guys radio show. I'm your host, Robert Helms. It's the 19th Annual Investor Summit, and we've got an incredible faculty that's going to share with you not just this week, but next week. It's been an amazing time so far. We're going to share a bunch of it with you today on the Real Estate Guys radio program. As real estate investors, it's no secret that the real estate guys love Florida, and the Sunshine State continues to receive more than its fair share of businesses and population relocating from the Northeast, which has created a huge opportunity for real estate investors. So come join Russ and me in mid-August for our first ever Jacksonville Palm Coast Ocala Field Trip. On this highly interactive trip, you'll get an up-close, hands-on, personal experience you'd be hard-pressed to find elsewhere. You'll feel the vibrancy of the markets, observe the quality of the infrastructure, and truly get a sense for the demographics, all things you just can't do by simply searching online. Plus, we'll introduce you to our Boots on the Ground team, and you'll meet some amazing investors from all over. To reserve your spot, go to realestateguysradio.com and click Events, where you'll find the Jacksonville Field Trip. There's a big difference between researching a market from afar and seeing it with your own eyes. So join the Real Estate Guys August 12th through 15th as we explore not one, but 3 amazing real estate markets. Go to realestateguysradio.com and click Events for the Jacksonville Palm Coast Ocala Field Trip. See you there. Welcome to the Real Estate Guys radio program. I'm your host, Robert Helms, and we are live in beautiful Belize with a studio audience, and they're beautiful. Hi, guys. It is the 19th Annual Investor Summit, not at sea this year. It's our Investor Summit at Sand. It's been an extraordinary time. My goodness, these people are talking and meeting each other and hugging. And if you're having a great time by show of applause, let us know. All but that one gal. Everyone else is having a really, really great time. Well, I'd like you to meet some of the faculty for this event. They've been sharing not only from the stage, but around dinner and around the pool and around cocktails. We'll start with a gentleman we didn't even announce was coming. He was a super surprise, but this is his 3rd summit. Let's say hello to the Chief Economist for Fannie Mae, Dr. Duncan, ladies and gentlemen. Doug, welcome back.
Thanks. It's great to be back and with actual people, not pictures of people.
It's crazy. I know you had to wear your pants, but it's great having you here. And Doug probably does more Zoom calls than any of us. You guys do a lot, but we're super happy you came out to the event. You started out the first day, actually, with a really mind-blowing presentation. Take us through just some of the highlights, some of the things that you can share without the charts and graphs.
Well, the one chart that I said would be on the quiz was the one that shows the dramatic departure from real price signals and the supply response in the market, which typically walks in lockstep, but since 2009 there's been this huge gap. So when everybody's talking about supply, that was the proof that's actually the case.
And one of the things we've been talking about this week, and a lot of the business owners in the audience are experiencing this phenomenon that it's harder to hire people. And you talked a little bit about that and what we're seeing. And then, of course, the other big thing on everyone's mind is inflation. That's a lot to cover, but this is stuff you pay attention to. What do you see there?
Well, to your first point about the shortage of labor, there'll be an interesting test when the extended benefits for unemployment expire in, I think, the September or October timeframe, and see how many people actually are sitting on the sideline because they're being paid more to sit on the sideline than if they went back to work. And bearing in mind that in many instances, those would be people who might have been working at restaurants or places like that, so not salaried workers, but hourly wage workers. So from the housing perspective, that's actually more on the rental side, which is obviously of significant interest to the people in this particular room. In terms of inflation, we released a paper on Wednesday, the day before the CPI came out, to make the point that some of the indicators in inflation, especially those related to housing, are actually lagging because, for example, people sign a 1-year lease. So if rents suddenly start to accelerate, that won't be picked up in the inflation numbers for the better part of another year. So we're saying that we expect to see the inflation component, which is called owner's equivalent rent, in the CPI. That term means if you had to rent the house you have bought and are living in, what would you have to pay in terms of rent? That's how that's measured in the CPI. That we suggest will be stronger next year than this year. So some of the inflation will be transitory, but not all of it.
Now, obviously, you're looking at pricing across the entire United States, and we see a lot of markets where prices are up. That's been good for real estate owners, but then the question of whether or not the tenants are paying rent, that's been one of the interesting things to juggle. We actually know you do have a crystal ball. I would normally say you wouldn't, but you confided in us that you have one. It doesn't actually work, but he's got one in his office, which is pretty cool. But what's your gut? I mean, we've got all kinds of things we've talked about this time around, with lots of money printing and lots of markets going high. And is the party ever going to end? What do you think is going to happen in the next 6, 12, 24 months?
Well, real estate is cyclical. Right now, what's driving real estate is policy, federal policy, so both monetary and fiscal policy. So on the monetary side, you've got the Fed buying $40 billion a month of mortgage-backed securities. So you have to ask, what's the real price if the Fed was not involved in that market? So that's one thing to keep in mind. On the fiscal policy side, if a family of 3 who qualified for all the benefits had saved up all of that cash, they would have had $11,400. If they converted that to 3% down payment, they'd be buying a $380,000 house. So it's no surprise that the lower third tier of house prices is accelerating faster than either the middle or upper tier. I would expect that when some of those fiscal policy benefits wane, and if the Fed has to make some adjustments on monetary policy because inflation's running hotter than they want, then you may see some rise in rates and some slowdown in demand.
All right, stay tuned. Had a big hand for Dr. Doug Duncan. We start off with a bang, right? Doug came out of the gate with a whole bunch of charts and graphs, and our eyes were glossing over, and then all of a sudden it made meaningful, information to us as investors, and we just kept the party going. Let's say hello to a gentleman who is now on his 10th Investor Summit. That means he's been more times than he hasn't been. Our good friend, let's say hi to Tom K. Wilson. Tom, welcome back to the summit, and thank you for inviting your good friend, Doug Duncan, to join us again.
Oh, my pleasure, and I'm so happy that he accepted the invitation. And I know he's back because he has such high respect for the real estate guys in the summit, and he got a lot out of it. And he always talks about loving to be a student.
Well, we've talked a lot this week about pivoting and changing, and obviously the pivot of going from Zoom to a room is kind of a good pivot. We had to pivot to go from a ship to a hotel, which was a bit of a pivot. You've been on a lot of different asset classes. In fact, just today you talked about commercial properties, industrial and retail and office. Tell us some of the big takeaways that you've had so far on the summit.
Well, I think certainly getting the picture painted of the economic scene and what we might expect moving forward is something that we all can take and apply to what we're doing. I really enjoy the interchange with all the people that come here that are so knowledgeable and have so much experience, and I always take away new information that I can apply to my business of syndicating all the different asset classes of commercial and multifamily.
Well, and this year, we've asked you to host a table at dinner. All these other years, we scatter you around, and that's what happens every night. There's a different group of folks. If you've sat with a really cool group, let us know by applause. Almost everybody. It's been amazing. So that's one of the neat things about the summit is, we have some stage presentations. There's 232 of us here, and that's a lot of stage time, but it's the time in between. And since you've been so many times, Tom, talk about the magic of that.
I think it's we've learned during the pandemic that the value of being in person, and we certainly missed that last year. I know I enjoyed being on the virtual one because that's all we could do, but there's nothing like being face to face with people and getting an interchange, and you get probably a little bit of that unspoken just connection with people that inspires you, and see body language and so forth that you just can't get otherwise. So over the years, so why do I keep coming back? And of course, we've known each other for 20 some years, and I've always enjoyed the different presentations and education events that you've presented, and that's why we've been together for such a long time. But this summit, I've probably been to, I don't know, 350 different conferences and seminars between my high-tech career and this, and there's just nothing even close as far as information and relationship content as this.
Thank you for those kind words. How about a hand for Tom K. Wilson? Speaking of folks that have been on the summit a whole bunch of times, let's welcome back attorney Mauricio Rauld. Good to see you, my friend. We get to talk on the phone and interchange emails, but we haven't been together for quite a while. And you actually used to live right here in Belize. Welcome home.
It's always great to be home. Lived here for 2 wonderful years, and it's I haven't been back in about 4 years, so really, really excited. This place has just blossomed, and just couldn't be happy to be back.
You know, it's an interesting time, and you, of course, specialize in syndication. We have folks here that are passively investing in syndications, actively putting together syndications, and other folks that can't even spell syndication. Talk about what you're seeing in terms of the way investors are taking advantage of the real estate markets.
There's been a huge explosion, at least from my perspective, on syndication, especially on the real estate side. There's just been a huge amount of interest, and interestingly enough, there's been a shift from sort of project-specific syndications where people are actually raising capital to acquire a particular asset, to these funds, sort of these blind pool funds where people are actually just raising capital into a fund before identifying the particular asset class. And it's just been an interesting shift. It started right after the pandemic. I thought it was going to be transitory, but it turns out that it's just kind of that trend has continued, and we're doing more blind funds today than we've ever done.
What's interesting about the summit is it's our highest level event we do. We have a lot of amazing, sophisticated investors, mostly accredited investors. We got folks in this room that are 5, 6, 7, 8, and 9 figures. It's crazy to think about that. And yet we also have some folks that are kind of new to this. Maybe they invest in something else. Maybe they don't know the real estate asset classes, or maybe their spouse drug them along. So we've tasked you with the introductory class on real estate investing, which we've done pretty much every year you've been here, and talk about what are some of the things if someone's new to real estate investing, they're listening to this show and they're at home, they're thinking, man, I don't know if I can handle the summit. What are the things that your new to real estate person needs to understand?
You know, I think from my perspective, one of the most important things is understanding that if you're going to be in the business of owning real estate, you really need to set up sort of an asset protection structure, because as owners of real estate, we tend to be just higher targets of lawsuits. We always joke, you know, how many of you have been sued in the past, and usually hands go up, and then the next question is how many of you haven't been sued yet? Because it's going to happen. So when that day comes, you want to make sure you're protecting that asset that you've worked so hard to get the capital to acquire the asset. You want to make sure you put it in the proper structures and not actually own it directly, because that'll just expose you to any issues that happen to the property.
Well, this is part of the thinking about an attorney. Most people don't even think about hiring one until there's a problem, but you point out that the time to make friends with an attorney is long before you need one.
Yeah, as Robert Kiyosaki likes to say, the time to put your seatbelt on is before the crash, right? Or the time to fix the roof is, before it starts raining. So you've got to think of these things beforehand, because actually if you think of it afterwards, it's too late. From a legal perspective, you can't think of these things after the what hits the fan. You've got to address them before, otherwise they don't work.
That's attorney Mauricio Rauld, ladies and gentlemen. Good stuff. Oh my goodness. Hey, who's enjoyed some of the food this time? Anybody? First day, I tried to go up the Lido deck, and there wasn't one. But pretty soon, I figured out that we all got fed plenty, and that's a trend that's going to continue. Let's welcome back a gentleman who's been more than once to the Investor Summit. That's our good friend, Damion Lupo. Welcome to Belize, Damion.
Man, it's so good to be here with you guys. I missed everybody. So good to see you guys.
Isn't it great? It's such good stuff. There's so much money in retirement. I don't mean, when you go to retire. I mean, when you're preparing for it. And this is an area that you've specialized in a long, long time. Take us through the QRP.
So the QRP, the retirement space, is this untapped giant monster of a pile of cash, $35 trillion. And what we're watching is we're watching people wake up to the realization that they've got options, that they can actually break out of Wall Street jail and start doing things like investing in real estate and taking that money and investing in gold and crypto and all these things, Dave Zook's ATMs, like all these different options. It's an awakening. So I like this. I like looking at this as the woke movement. Makes me happy thinking about it that way. So that's what's happening.
Well, and a lot of folks, they think about the money in their retirement account completely differently than they would think about the cash to invest. Like, I've got this much cash, I'm going to invest, but retirement's so far down the road, and I think people are just uneducated about it. Your passion is to break the shackles, if you will. What can folks do to learn more about this, and why should they pay attention?
Well, the best thing you can do is show up at the summit in Belize or the cruise ship or wherever. The reality is this is not something that's mainstream. It's a niche, and we always hear that there's riches and niches, and this is one to know about, whether it's for you or it's for you personally using a retirement account. There's an important aspect of learning how to use this to raise money, to really tap into this pile. It teaches, one of the things you realize when you start using your retirement money or other people's, you learn how to be a passive investor because you're forced to by the tax code. You can't be the active one doing all the work, which is also what gives you scalability and leverage, because if you're doing all the work, you get exhausted and you're stuck. If you learn how to be a really smart passive investor in the I piece of the cash flow quadrant, then you can go wherever you want to go financially. And that's really what retirement accounts are all about. It's that pile that sets you up so that you don't wake up at 60 or 70 going, oh crap, I got to go back to work.
Damion, I remember the first time you came to the summit, it was a little bit of shock and awe that first couple of days, and you only could join us for a couple of days because you had other commitments. Now you've been back, you brought some team members. Talk about what it's like to come back rather than be there for the first time.
So it's interesting. I was watching Dave Zook in his presentation, and I was sitting there being overwhelmed. And I'm thinking, I've been investing for 20 plus years, and I was watching all the opportunities, and I was feeling like I haven't even done anything. I've been feeling lazy, and I thought, I wonder what other people are thinking about when they're in their first year or two. And what I realized is that there's always more, and what you have to do is focus. And one of the focuses for me, and the inspiration from being around you, Robert and Russ and Dave and Brad and all these people, like Brad was talking about going 10x. And one of the things we learn is that going 10x or growing is about the people. It's the teams. It's my best friend and partner, David, and his wife, Hannah, joining us on this summit. It's having people around you and trusting. And that was one of the biggest shifts. I feel like that we're shifting from a jailbreak into a new type of virus. And I feel like the new virus that's happening is the freedom virus. And that we're waking up to this freedom, and the freedom is when you start deeply trusting in other people, and that's the biggest shift for me right now is building a team. It's not me being exhausted, it's trusting other people and watching how many people are being unshackled and learning about freedom.
Love that. How about a hand for Damion Lupo, ladies and gentlemen? We're live in Belize at the 19th Annual Investor Summit. More when we come back. I'm your host, Robert Helms.
Real estate investment advice right in your mailbox. Sign up for the free Real Estate Guys newsletter at realestateguysradio.com.
Hi, I'm Brad Sumrok. At this year's AIM NatCon, you'll find out why apartments have been and continue to be the hottest sector for real estate investing, and why more and more people are moving their money out of Wall Street into real estate, specifically apartment buildings. Learn from some of the best speakers and investors in the country. Gain access to industry experts and service providers from all over the USA that can help you earn more money and pay less taxes. Meet and network with hundreds of other apartment investors and other like-minded individuals. So whether you are new to investing or already an experienced apartment owner that wants to go bigger and faster, this conference is definitely for you. I'll see you there.
Join Damon John, Grant Cardone, Ken McElroy, Tom Wheelwright, the Apartment King Brad Sumrok, and the Real Estate Guys at the 4th Annual Apartment Investor Mastery National Conference, July 16th to 18th, in person in Dallas, Texas, or online. For all the details, send an email to aimnatcon@realestateguysradio.com. That's AIMNATCON, aimnatcon@realestateguysradio.com.
Hey, ever wished you could go back in time and do some tax planning? Now you can, just like Marty McFly. Lucky for you, a brand new federal law just made this possible with an eQRP to get tax deductions and reduce your taxable income from last year, so you can use that tax savings to invest in real estate, Bitcoin, gold, even your own business. Whether you're a full-time investor, doctor, government employee, even if you have 5 or 50 employees, the eQRP works and is your secret weapon, and now it's retroactive. Hey, I'm Damion Lupo, and we have your solution. By the way, if you got bad advice and used an IRA for an apartment syndication, you are sitting on a U-bit time bomb. But don't worry, there's a solution, the eQRP. The eQRP company is ready to help you get control of your money, kill U-bit, and help you pay way less taxes. Want to learn more about this strategy? Send an email to eqrp@realestateguysradio.com for my special eQRP report. Paying tax or letting Wall Street suck you dry is dumb. Your first step is freeing your retirement money by sending an email to eqrp@realestateguysradio.com today.
Hi, this is Steve Forbes. You're listening to The Real Estate Guys. Have fun. You'll learn something.
Welcome back to the Real Estate Guys radio program, heard every weekend on this great radio station and every year at the Investors Summit. This year, the Investors Summit on Sand. We have so many amazing folks sharing with us. Let's meet another one of them. We call him the $300 million man because that's how much he's raised in syndications. Mr. Dave Zook. Hey, Dave. Welcome back, my friend.
Hey, it's good to be back. It's good to be back here live. You know, I moved in here for 9 weeks at MBV, and to be back here when there's gravel and nice pebbles on the driveway instead of like sewer and water ditches and that kind of stuff, it's been a whole lot of fun to be back here.
It's kind of fun to see it evolve. This is a place where we've spent some time. You bring a group of investors, usually once a year, and do your little tax update, and that's always fun. And this time we've got 232 of us absolutely 100% sold out. I mean, look at the room. There's just hardly any seats, and the only seats that are here is because like you and me and Paul and Jorge, we're not over there. But tell us about the talk you gave. It was awesome. You've done a great job of building teams. And what you shared was just some of the real tangible ideas behind that.
Yeah, so I'm a firm believer. I mean, I think for anybody to be a true professional in their space, you need 10,000 hours plus. And so the asset classes that I like to invest in personally and that I also take out to my investor group, you know, I can't have 10,000 hours in each one of those asset classes. But what I like to do is I like to put a team together and have that be their one thing, have that be their asset class that they've had 10,000 hours in. So I like to come alongside of those folks, and you know, if it works for me, I like the asset class, I share it with my investor group, and we've had a lot of success doing that.
Well, in fact, you shared lots of different things that you're doing, but today you did a breakout on one of the most interesting asset classes, and that is ATMs. Not exactly real estate, but a pretty interesting investment. Give us the high notes on ATM investing.
So I would argue that ATM investing is a real estate play, and it's a real estate, you know, it's a 3-foot by 3-foot piece of real estate in a highly desirable area. When you take, you know, 5 acres of real estate and you build an apartment building on that real estate, you're monetizing that 5 acres of real estate maybe in its best and highest use. You can do the same thing in self-storage. What we do is, you know, it's important, you know, we've had good interaction this morning, and I was happy about that. But it's important, the location thing that's so important about real estate is also maybe even more important in the ATM space, and being able to be in the right area with lots of traffic. And so for us, it is a real estate play, and we've had a lot of fun just being in that space for the last decade.
The other thing, of course, is that you've had that chance to meet people and mingle and talk and all that, and this is one of those years where we had to do a little negotiation to get you here, so you're not here for the whole time, which is why we have you on part one. But talk about just that get the chance to maybe meet new people, reconnect with some of your old friends.
You know, as hard as it is to get away for a bunch of days in a row, it's, you know, that's what keeps me coming back is you guys, the guys in the audience. You know, I love to be in an environment where I can learn. I love to share what I've learned along the way, but just to meet people, you know, last year doing this event on Zoom was, you know, it was okay. But, you know, this is great. I keep coming back because I want to learn. And I want to visit with you guys. You know, rub brains together with the right people. That's where you learn the most.
In the words of Russell Gray, the summit on screen last year was awesome, and it sucked. right? Because it was great content. We decided, what are we going to do? Well, we got all these amazing people that have committed to the time, so we'll go ahead and I'll have presentations from our living rooms or bars, which was cool, but it's just not the same as being live again. Obviously, we refer to you as the $300 million man because that's where you are today. That number keeps changing. You're going to be a guest at the upcoming Secrets of Successful Syndication. We first met on this event, the Investor Summit in 2012. Then you had a different feel about real estate, and a lot has changed since then. What advice would you have for someone who's in that position? They're just thinking about real estate, or they're just thinking about syndication.
So we all wish we started earlier, right? I mean, everybody in this room probably wishes they had started a little bit earlier. I was running with some guys last night, some 19-year-olds who were doing syndication deals. I'm like, wow. I wish I'd have started when I was 19. Look what I left lay on the table. I'd probably be at 300 billion by now. But no, just get out there and learn, get in the right environments, and get around people like this, and you'll experience things that you would not experience just staying home and reading out of a book, trying to learn all this stuff out of a book or on a webinar. You'll learn stuff in these types of environments where you don't get at home.
David Zook, the real asset investor. Let's give him a hand. We always invite our faculty to come back, which makes it hard to make space for new folks. But this year we have a brand new faculty member. Let's say hello to Paul Moore. Paul, listeners have probably heard you on our show talking about all kinds of things. I think the first time we had you on was a Halloween horror story because you've been in real estate a long time. But specifically at this summit, you're talking about an asset class that's kind of fun, and that's mobile home parks.
Yeah, I really love mobile home parks because they're the only asset type that I know of that has a diminishing supply and an increasing demand every year. And the tenants are very sticky. We're actually doing something good to help tenants to provide them a great place to live at a lower price than they can get almost anywhere else except maybe under a bridge.
In the title of your talk, you broke a paradigm, which is who invests in these things. So this isn't just, some guy who's got an extra piece of land in Alabama. Talk about some of the folks that are investing in mobile homes.
While a lot of us were looking down our noses, at least I was, at mobile home parks and mobile homes, Sam Zell, the most successful, or at least the largest investor in America in real estate, was acquiring mobile home park pads, and he acquired 158,000 mobile home park pads. And Warren Buffett's in all kinds of different industries, including Clayton Homes, including 21st Mortgage, Berkadia, other partnerships that cater to the mobile home park world.
Paul, we also had you on the panel where we talked about pivoting from the pandemic. And so take us through what happened in the mobile home space during the coronavirus.
Yeah, so the mobile home park space is great because it's a partnership between the mobile home park and the tenant, because the tenant has their own home, or typically they do, and so it's pretty awesome for them to be able to pay $300 or $400 a month to live there, plus possibly a small cost of the home that they have ongoing. And so they typically don't want to not pay their rent. They're going to pay because their home is attached to that, and they don't want to get evicted and spend $5,000 to have to move the mobile home somewhere else.
And it's not the only asset class you're involved with. In fact, you don't just buy a mobile home pad or even a mobile home park. You guys put together funds to do this. So speak about the target investor that'd be interested in either your self-storage or your mobile home fund.
Yeah, so we have a diversified fund that has mobile home parks, self-storage. We're considering adding senior living. RV parks are a great niche that we want to get into as well. So our investors come to us, they're accredited investors, and they want to get diversification, and they don't want to have to do all the due diligence on their own. So we do that. Just like Dave said, we're doing due diligence on these partners, and then we're trusting them. We're putting our own money in, and then our investors come alongside.
Good stuff. How about a hand for Paul Moore? You're tuned to the Real Estate Guys radio program.
Live nationwide, you're listening to the Real Estate Guys. Find out more at realestateguysradio.com.
Hey, it's Robert Helms. Thanks so much for listening to the show today. I want to personally invite you to come see an amazing real estate market that combines excellent cash flow, offshore diversification, and what we affectionately call lifestyle investing. Come join me from August 20th to 23rd in the beautiful country of Belize. The Real Estate Guys have been bringing investors to Belize for more than 15 years now, and our discovery trip is designed to show you the market like nobody else can. Sure, Belize is breathtakingly beautiful. The people are wonderful. And wait till you taste the food. But the real opportunity is the real estate investment potential. Demand for offshore real estate has skyrocketed since the coronavirus shutdown, and with retirees looking for lifestyle, the work-from-home workforce able to be productive from afar, and tourism coming back strong, now may be the perfect time to consider Belize as a place to diversify risk in your investment portfolio. There's all types of opportunities in Belize when it comes to real estate investing, including both long and short-term rentals, commercial and retail triple net properties, business opportunities, land acquisition, development, agriculture, and more. As the only country in Latin America with English as its official language, it's easy to understand the law. Property rights are strong, and contracts are written in English. And in Ambergris Caye, a unique situation exists where demand for rentals continues to outstrip supply, creating a compelling environment for investors. So come see for yourself. Join me in August in Ambergris Caye, Belize, as we study the market, learn about the sustainable drivers, and tour lots of beautiful real estate. And like all of our field trips, there are no properties for sale during the weekend. Rather, you'll meet lots of local providers that will help educate you about the market so that you can follow up with them after the trip if the market is interesting to you. You've heard about Belize on the Real Estate Guys for all these years. Now come see what all the excitement is about. Plus, we'll have lots of time over meals and activities to talk about all things real estate. To get the details, go to the website at realestateguysradio.com and click on Events, where you'll find the Belize Discovery Trip. Once you register, you'll get information about our group hotel rates as well as travel details. So join me in Belize, August 20th to 23rd. It's a beautiful country with lots of amazing possibilities, and the only thing missing is you. Go to realestateguysradio.com under Events, and I look forward to seeing you in beautiful Belize.
Having trouble finding deals where the numbers make sense? Invest in an asset class that delivers cash flow to you in good times and bad, and where most of that cash flow is tax-free. I'm Dave Zook. Many of you have heard me speak at Real Estate Guys events or heard me on their podcast. My team is a top 5 ATM operator in the country, and right now accredited investors can make cash flow returns well into the double digits and get huge tax deductions. For your free report on this lucrative asset class, email atm@realestateguysradio.com.
Hi, this is Anthony Melchior from Hotel Impossible, and you're listening to The Real Estate Guys.
Welcome back to the Real Estate Guys radio program with a live studio audience. We've had such an amazing week. It's been so much fun and so much learning. By applause, let us know if your brain is already full. Yeah, and we're only on day 3. We're going to do another show next week with some more of the faculty, but right now, let's meet another brand new Summit faculty member. This is Jim Griffin. Hey, Jim. Good to have you with us.
Thank you very much. It's great to be here. First time.
We had you on the Secrets of Successful Syndication. You talked about private notes. So sometimes people want to invest in the real estate. They want to own the apartment building. They want to own the industrial complex. They want to own the bowling alley. But you teach the other side, which is the debt side. Tell us about private notes.
Private notes, the paper side of business is when you bought your first home, you got a mortgage, and the bank just collected all the money. Now we're talking about you being the bank, and you're the one collecting the money. That's the paper side of real estate.
Now, sometimes people originate those kind of loans, but there's actually a pretty interesting market when those loans already exist. Talk about how that part of it works.
Yes, so these notes have been created. Maybe they've been created by a private lender, and sometimes that private lender needs to recapitalize their business. So they're willing to sell that note at a discount. As you know, when you buy something at a discount, it means that your return or your yield is higher. And that's the play.
In fact, that's really a unique angle because the note was originated, payments are being made. There are notes that are performing, meaning they're still making the payments, and there's notes that are non-performing, two different ways to invest. Talk about the difference there.
Great point. Yes, performing loans, performing notes are a great investment for somebody's retirement account, where really you just want a stable income stream, right? Then for the active investor, that non-performing note, the equivalent is like doing a rehab on a house, where you buy a house it's distressed. You buy it at a discount, you put in new floors, new kitchen, new bathrooms, and you sell it at a profit. So you can do the same thing with a distressed note. It's not been performing. There are certain things you can do to make a loan start performing again. You do those things, then you can decide to keep the note or sell it to somebody else.
Good stuff. Let's have a hand for Jim Griffin. You know, people who've been coming to the summit like Griffin, that's a familiar name. Griffin, where do I know that name? Well, Jim's dad is a man named G. Edward Griffin. Let's say hey to Ed. Ed Griffin, welcome back to the summit.
Oh, Robert, it's so good to be back among real human beings again. Pretty nice. Thank you.
It's good stuff. You've shared so much already, only in the first 3 days. I know you got a lot more to share. Your pivotal book, The Creature from Jekyll Island, came out and had people's heads spinning. A typical reaction is first, who read the book? By show of applause. And when you did, applaud if it pissed you off. Yeah, it made us mad. Why'd you want to make us mad, Ed?
Oh, well, because I got mad, I guess. Misery loves company. But beyond that, I think we all should be mad because we got a job to do. If we don't like what's going on in the world, we can either whine about it and just complain and let it continue, or we get mad and decide to do something about it. That's what I'm trying to do, is to do something about it. That's what it's all about.
Absolutely. You know, you continue to do that in a lot of different areas. People know you for your book about the Federal Reserve, but in reality, you've researched all kinds of stuff. Your amazing book, World Without Cancer. We talked last night about quite a few topics that we will not share on the radio. But let's talk about that. Not just getting mad, but doing something about it.
Well, that's the trick. It's easy to see what the problem is, but to figure out the solution is quite a challenge. And unfortunately, we're not really taught in the educational system in which we've all been raised, most of us anyway, that we have a personal responsibility to solve problems. Increasingly, what we're taught is that we live in a collective world. We're all part of the group. We're all part of society. And as individuals, we don't really count. But as a group, we're very important. And we're supposed to be good citizens and don't make waves and be team players, you know? So the outcome of all of that is we come out of this system, at least I did, and I see many people who have done the same thing. We come out of the system with this feeling, well, what are they going to do about this? It's always they, the system. What about the authorities? That's what we pay taxes for, right? And we've lost the idea that we as individuals really are at the core of society. We are the ones that are primarily responsible for our own achievements, our own well-being, and this thing called government or society is something that we need to direct, not be directed by. It's kind of a philosophical issue, and you can really follow that down into the rabbit hole quite deep. But on the surface, I think everybody understands that the system isn't working well today. So what are we going to do about it? And so the question is, what can we do about it? I always get that, often get that question. A person will stand up in the audience or send me a note or something and say, well, what can the average person do? And my answer is, well, the average person can't do anything about it. I mean, the average person isn't used to controversy. The average person isn't willing to stand up and speak against popular opinion. The average person isn't willing to spend a lot of time researching to get information for himself or herself. The average person just accepts whatever the authorities tell him, and on and on. The average person can't do anything. The average person is sunk. So if you really want to make a difference, you've got to stop being average. That's the first step. So I'm so glad to be here, Robert, because there are no average people out there. These are all above average people. So So I'm speaking to the choir right now, and I know you folks understand this at a very deep level. The solution starts with that change in attitude. Once you've done that, then we talk about structures and strategies and tactics, and there you get into some of my projects, like Red Pill Expo and Red Pill University. Those are the mechanisms and the organizational platforms that the non-average person can actually do something to change the world.
Love that. How about a hand for Ed Griffin, ladies and gentlemen? Welcome to the Real Estate Guys radio program. I'm your host, Robert Helms.
Need help with your real estate investment portfolio? Check out the resources page at realestateguysradio.com.
In uncertain times like this, it's great to know there are two things you can always count on: high demand for affordable single-family homes to live in, and Terry Kerr's amazing Memphis team at Mid-South Home Buyers to find, fix, and manage the next addition to your recession-resistant real estate portfolio. The Memphis market is logistics and distribution dynamo with an economic engine that's essential to moving goods and critical supplies all over the United States. Quality rehab, proven profitable property management, affordable rents, and solid ROI make turnkey property investing through Terry's team a dream when it matters most. To learn more about Memphis and Mid-South Home Buyers, send an email to midsouth@realestateguysradio.com. That's midsouth@realestateguysradio.com.
If you love real estate and have always wanted to own your own business, listen up. The Real Estate Guys and their panel of experts want to teach you how to go full-time fast in the real estate syndication business. These next few years may go down in history as one of the best times ever to acquire investment real estate. There are deals everywhere if you know where to look and how to assemble the resources. The Secrets of Successful Syndication seminar will show you how to make big money doing big deals from a team of experts that have syndicated projects totaling more than $1 billion. Don't wait for someone to give you a raise or create a job for you. Attend the Secrets of Successful Syndication and learn how to build a team, raise capital, find deals, and make full-time money in 6 months or less. Go to realestateguysradio.com and click on events. All the big players use syndication as a way to diversify risk, optimize profits, and earn big money. You can too. Go to realestateguysradio.com and click on events.
Hey, this is John Asraf, and you are listening to The Real Estate Guys.
Welcome back to the Real Estate Guys radio program. There's 232 of us in Belize. For many years, we've been on a cruise ship doing this, and this year the cruise ship said the same thing they said last year, no. And we said, well, that's no fun. Let's move the summit on sea to the summit on sand. And let's say hello to returning summiteer of the Apartment King, Brad Sumrok. Hello. Brad, you just finished up your apartment challenge, got on a plane, and came down here with your lovely wife. And this morning you talked a lot about the winter, but you also shared some other cool stuff with us. Tell us what's going on in the world of apartments.
Well, what's going on in the world of apartments are, for years, we've heard we were in the 8th inning of a 9-inning game. How many people heard that, right? And now what I'm hearing from the people that are 2 or 3 levels above me, people that have 15, 20,000 units, is that we're in the 1st inning of a multi-year expansion of the 1st quarter of a 4-quarter game. So that's what I see going on right now.
Well, and of course, one of our amazing faculty members, Dr. Duncan, is watching that. You're a big proponent of the loans, the Fannie loans and the other types of loans. Talk about the loan landscape, because that changed during COVID, and then it's become different. What are you watching there?
Well, the financing has changed a lot. So for 17 of the 19 years that I've been investing in apartments, I only did Fannie Mae fixed rate loans. And in December of 2020, we did our first Freddie floater. And that was the first time I ever did a variable rate loan. And there were a lot of reasons for that. And now, never in my life would I have considered doing bridge debt. But now bridge debt is so attractive, and there's so many new bridge lenders coming into the market. Like, as an example, buying an $18 million deal right now, we got quoted $12.7 million debt on a Freddie and up to $15 million on a bridge. So when you look at the returns to the investors, now is a great time to lever bridge debt to get great returns for apartment investors.
You know, the first time you came on the summit, you had a chance to change your thinking a little bit about tax. This morning, we heard from CPA Tom Wheelwright, but talk about that part of it. You know, you come here to teach, but you also come here to learn, and the ideas that you and Jen got about taxation and how that turned out for you.
Well, Tony Robbins says you become like the people you hang around with the most, and one of the reasons I love coming here is because of all the people that we meet, and we're all here to lift each other up, and that's why me and Jen made it a must to be here after originally, you know, telling ourselves that we couldn't be here. Then it was like, okay, if you can't, you must. So we came here a day late, we're leaving a day early, but 4 years ago we met Tom Wheelwright at an event like this, and as a result saved $965,000 in taxes, and so we continue to pay zero taxes, and it's due to the people that are at events like this here at the Summit at SAM.
All right, let's give Brad Sumrok a hand. Hey, here's a gal who's been on almost every single investor summit, and rather than make her get on the ship, we came to her beautiful hotel. Let's say hi to Beth Clifford. Hey, Beth.
Hey, how you doing, Robert?
Good, good, good. You know, there was a year where you were so busy building this beautiful place that we all got on the ship and we came to visit you, and we got up on boats, and it was just a vision, an idea, and now here we are staying here. Just talk about the impact of the change in the market and what your takeaways are for this week.
Well, you know, I mean, first of all, we love having everybody here. So I want to, first of all, thank everybody for coming. I hope we've met, and I hope even more that we've exceeded your expectations in your visit down here. You know, our team is so excited because, you know, we're just coming off of COVID. You know, with COVID, we were at over 420 people on property on March 22nd, and then on March 23rd of 2020, we went to zero. And then we didn't open our property back up until the first week of December. And, you know, it's taken a while for the tourism industry to recover. But now what's amazing is we saw an incredible shift, Robert, in the travel and tourism industry, where March is completely where the whole industry changed. And so we saw a 3 to 3.5 times as many reservations coming in. And our current reservation pace for this year is way above 2019. We're into almost where we were at the beginning of 2020. So if that's an indicator for people, tourism is back. Of course, we wonder a little bit about, is this just pent-up demand? Is this transitory inflation, or is this transitory demand, or is this like real long-term demand? And so we're watching that on a day-to-day basis. But you know, the team is great to come back. The whole country is excited. I think everybody's just enthused to get, you know, back in the saddle again.
One of the things we do on the summit, of course, is every night we get to have dinner with different folks. You've hosted tables this week. Talk about that part, getting to really talk to real people.
You know what I find, first of all, I love it. And so someone may say that I'm on the faculty here, but I don't believe that I'm a learner here. And so what I find is that I haven't not learned anything from anybody that I've met here. And so when you're sitting in the tables, typically there's 8 people to the table. We go around, and it's, you know, it's sort of a culmination of some part personal perspectives, personal struggles in people's lives, because so much of what we do and our attitudes dictate our outcomes. And so there's a lot of discussion about our personalities and how that affects how we work as investors and individuals. So there's some discussion about that. And then, of course, there's all kinds of discussions. What I'm amazed at is that there's literally thousands of ways to invest and make money. And we've got some of the most creative people who are figuring it out. And so I just listen, and I feel blessed to be able to just be a part of it.
How about a hand for Beth Clifford? Wrapping it up this time around, we'll say hi to the co-host of the Real Estate Guys radio program, financial strategist Russell Gray. Man, you started us off with such a bang. You came out and scared the heck out of us, but gave us some context. Talk about your talk. You don't have to talk about the way you did your talk. That could remain Summit lore, but tell us about what we learned the first day.
Well, I think that all of us are operating in a system. There's an ecosystem, an economy out there that's made up of credit markets, the financial system, currency, tax law, policies run by bureaucrats and politicians. So I call them the marauders, the pirates. And then, you heard Ed Griffin talk earlier about the idea of what can we do? One of the things you can do is you can defund, right? If you take tax strategies from Tom Wheelwright, as Brad Sumrok has, and you reduce your tax to zero legally, you defund. And that's fine, because you're kind of fighting the system, but at the same time you're working within the system. Debt is a great tool. We live in a debt-based system, and debt and the currency expansion that supports the debt expansion dilutes the currency. We call that inflation. If you're a consumer, you're on the losing end of it. If you're an investor, you can be on the winning end of it. And if you're an apartment investor, for example, now you're on the winning end of it, helping the consumer, because you're providing affordable housing. So even though there's a lot of crazy things going on, and even though there's a lot of problems, the flip side of every problem is an opportunity. And the reason we're all here together is to get some of the smartest people in the world, and I'm not talking about the faculty, although they certainly are, but a lot of the people who are here in the summit are just the caliber of people who are out there in the real world, doing the real thing, solving real problems in creative ways. And I know the reason the faculty come out is because the caliber of people here are so good. We learn from them. We learn from this audience. That's the power. And you can't do that on a Zoom call. I mean, as much fun as a virtual cocktail hour is on Zoom, it's just a lot more fun to be hanging out at the pool or at the beach club and having those impromptu conversations. You just never know who you're going to bump into, what thought process was stimulated in them or in you. What answer you're going to get to a great question that you ask, or what great answer that you might give. I've had several people come up to me and say that something I've said, has quote unquote changed their lives. That's flattering, but even more important, it's just so impactful to feel like there's something I may have learned in my journey called life, and the mistakes that I've made and the little victories that I've had from time to time, and I can impart that to someone else, and it makes a difference. And the same thing is happening for me. And so it's just a symbiotic relationship of great ideas and energy and enthusiasm in the midst of a chaotic world. And Brad just said it, Jim Rohn said it, taught it to Tony Robbins. You become the sum total of the 5 people you hang around in. Well, why not hang around with 200 of the great people and just become that much bigger and better? And that's what we're doing here.
All right, well, on that note, it's been an amazing first 3 days. We got a lot more. You guys want a lot more? We'll check in next week for part 2 of the Investors Summit on Sand. Until then, go out and make some equity happen.
This episode of the Real Estate Guys radio show is brought to you by Paradigm Life. Powerful cash management strategies using life insurance. Learn more at beyourbank.com. Mid-South Home Buyers. Low-cost, turnkey cash flow properties in Memphis, Tennessee. Corporate Direct. Asset protection strategies for real estate investors from attorney and Rich Dad advisor Garrett Sutton. Find these and other great companies under the Resources tab at realestateguysradio.com. To learn how you can expose your product or service to the Real Estate Guys audience, call 888-489-7723 extension 4. That's 888-489-7723 extension 4. Or use the feedback page at realestateguysradio.com. Thanks for listening, and we'll see you next week right here on the Real Estate Guys Radio Show.